is Smithy. Welcome to my channel. Today's video is very important and a very special one. We're going to talk about eyeshadow palettes, and you know how much I love my eyeshadow palettes. We're going to talk about my top 10 summer palettes that are in my collection. Not necessarily everything is new. Pretty much, I think most of them are a little bit more on the older side. And I have two palettes apart from those 10 that I need to mention, which are like discontinued palettes, or like you cannot find it anymore, but you might have it in your collection. So let's get all into eyeshadow palettes and talk about my top summer palettes. So if you're ready, let's begin. So the first eyeshadow palette that I'm going to talk about is a dupe version of the Natasha Denona Bronze palette. I do not have a Natasha Denona Bronze palette in my collection, but this is Alter Ego's Canyon palette, and I absolutely love this palette. Like, if you are on a budget, I feel like this is beautiful, especially to get those like fiery bronzy looks. This would be amazing. Again, I'm not saying you need to go and buy it especially if you have the Natasha Denona Bronze palette. I would consider that also as a beautiful summer palette. But this, I feel like, definitely gives that heat that summer brings, and I really love. The quality on this palette is absolutely amazing. I don't feel the same with all the Alter Ego palettes, but I feel like the Sahara palette, the Canyon palette, these are all like really good quality palettes. So I would highly recommend this. If you were eyeing Natasha Denona Bronze palette still, this is the way to go. The next palette that I want to talk about, it's more on the colorful side, but again, brings that summery vibes, the heat. And this is the Sunset Beach palette from MBA Cosmetics. I am an affiliate with MBA Cosmetics as well as Alter Ego. My code is Smithy Sony to save you 10% off. Look at this palette. This palette it's so pretty. It's colorful, yes, but it gives that summery beachy vibes that we are looking for. This palette is like pretty much like a 50-50 split for mattes and shimmers, but everything that is in this palette is so beautiful, and on the eyes it looks so stunning. I do have a video on all these palettes on my channel, so if you want to check it out, you'll definitely find it. This palette is beautiful, again, like very vibrant, very colorful, but it's like easy going. Like, you don't need to use everything in the palette. You can easily achieve like, 2 shadow looks or 3 shadow looks using this palette. So I really love this one. The next palette that I want to talk about is Bella Beaute Bar's The Sun and the Sea palette. Again, this gives like those summery vibes. Again, this is like a very much like a neutral but colorful kind of a palette. It gives me those bronzy tones, those colors, the beachy vibes. I often wear this palette very much. I don't know if you can actually find this palette or not. I hope so. This palette is really beautiful. This is the first palette that I bought from Bella Beaute Bar, and I really was impressed. There's no looking back. I have several other Bella Beaute Bar palettes in my collection, but I feel like most of the palettes are more like autumn leaning or like fall leaning, but this definitely screams summer to me. I definitely want to talk about it, and it's like a great mix of neutrals and colorful bronzy tones. They also have like some iridescent multichromes in this palette. Really pretty. Let's talk about another neutral palette in my collection, which I often take it out, and that is Natasha Denona's My Dream palette. This is like pretty much my perfect everyday palette, I would say. If you are more of like that medium tan skin tone, I feel like this palette is so beautiful. I think mine is it's not in the correct position. I have mixed a few eyeshadows from Retro palette and yeah, a bunch. I need a nude palette, but majority of the shades are from My Dream palette, and this, I really love the way how this palette looks on my eyes, and I would highly recommend this. If you were eyeing like how I created this palette, it's there on my channel. If you want to check it out, I'll link it in the iCards above. But My Dream palette alone is a great summer palette. Okay, let's talk about a colorful palette, but it screams summer to me, and this is Simply Posh Cosmetics Citrus Punch palette. I do have a code with Simply Posh Cosmetics. It is Smithy Sony to save you 10% off. I have actually all my codes listed in the description box below. I also do have a code with Natasha Denona. It's Smithy Sony to save you 15% off. Let's talk about this one. I have the older version. I know that they are revamping Citrus Punch in the new formula, which I would highly recommend because I love their new formula. Mine is in the old formula, but I do not have any problems with this palette. I really love how punchy it is. The name of this palette is so apt. It's Citrus Punch. Like, I definitely think about like grapefruits and oranges and lemons when I think about this. It's really pretty, and these shimmers never crease on me. If you are suffering with like creasy eyelids, this palette definitely, just use a brush with these shimmers and you'll get impactful shade on your eye with such dimensions, so much sparkliness. These shades are a little bit on a thinner side, but I never find creasing with them. I really love this palette. Would highly recommend this. Okay, let's talk about an oldie but a goodie. This, I feel like out of the Pat McGrath palettes, this is the only palette that I would recommend for summer season, and this is my favorite Pat McGrath palette that I have in my collection, and this is the number 5, the Bronze Seduction palette. This is so pretty, so pretty. I often use this. I actually have this rose gold shade all across my eyelid. I have this in my inner corners mixed up with this on the eyelid, and I have this brown on the outer corners. How sparkly and how vibrant it is. I really love it. I really love it. I have a little bit of aubergine shade mixed in the outer corners too. Beautiful. I cannot deny the quality of Pat McGrath shades, but is it worth $125? Big question mark. I do love the formula, but I don't worth it's like $125. I definitely had to try it to say no to you guys, right? This is how the packaging looks. I never throw out a Pat McGrath packaging because they are so stunning. Definitely an art of work. But yeah, I would highly recommend the Bronze Seduction palette. Do wait for a sale. If you are eyeing any Pat McGrath palette, they do several times 30% off sales on their website, sometimes 40% off too. Would never pay retail prices for these palettes. Let's talk about another everyday, like summery, bronzy tone palettes. And this is from Sigma Beauty, and this is their Ambiance palette. This, oh my god, if you are a neutral wearer, this palette is going to be so pretty on you. This is definitely a little bit more on the warmer tone side. It's like for everyday look. Like if you don't like colors, if you like some elegant looks, not shifty looks, this palette you will absolutely love. I really love this palette, especially when I'm like going for like those simple, like elegant, like everyday kind of looks. This palette is what I do for. Like I put one crease shade, one deepening out shade, and one shimmer on the eyelid, and that's it. And I get beautiful looks. I really love this palette, really. Again, if you were eyeing the Natasha Denona Bronze palette, the Natasha Denona Bronze palette, the Alter Ego Canyon palette, this almost gives the same vibe. This has a little bit more of like that yellow leaning formula along with those bronzy tones. I would highly recommend this one. If you are looking into colorful palettes, I would recommend this more than anyone else, okay? Anyone else. This is the Strawberry Moon palette from Ensley Rain Cosmetics. I do have a code with Ensley Rain Cosmetics. It's Smithy Sony to save you 10% off. This is a colorful person's dream. The mattes, the shimmers, it has a mirror too. The pans are magnetic. Look at the shadows. It is so pretty, so vibrant. It is just beautiful in my opinion. I really love the quality. If you love these shades, do not think one more bit. It is just stunning. Love this palette. And I love the fact that it is magnetic. I can mix and match and I can take it anywhere where I go. Really love it. Really love it. Would highly recommend this. Okay, the next palette that I'm going to talk about gives us the heat, but not in like an orangey way, but in like a chocolatey burgundy brown way. And this is the Naughty Nude palette from Huda Beauty. Again, this can be like a transition from summer to fall. I really love this palette. I use this pretty much very regularly, especially for my office looks. It gives such a elegant feel on the eyes. I really would highly recommend this. The quality is outstanding. The mattes are blendable, buildable, pigmented, and the shimmers are shimmering. They give us some good quality shimmers, and I really love this. I love to travel with these kind of palettes, especially if I'm not looking for like colorful tones. This is the palette. Really pretty. Last, certainly not the least. Actually, let's keep the last palette for a little while. Let's talk about two palettes that are discontinued, but I would still recommend for summer season. The first one is the Supreme Nudes palette. Yes, Artist Couture's Supreme Nudes palette. This palette still works beautifully. I still wear it to office and I look really nice. I really love the formula of this palette. I really do not know if you can find this palette right now or not, but if you do have this in your collection, I would highly recommend this. This is such a beautiful palette. Actually, I had to recommend one more palette. Oh my gosh. But I'll get to it. The next palette that I want to talk about is Odens Eye Red Dragon palette. Again, you cannot find this palette anymore, but if you have this palette, you know exactly what I mean. This is Summer in a palette. I really love everything that is there in this palette. Really beautiful, very vibrant, very nice on the eyes. It's very dimensional but wearable at the same time. You can get the heat if you want heat, but you can also go neutral. This is my favorite multi-chrome. This is called Luna, and it shifts to like, it's such a unique shift. It shifts to like pinky bronze to like a green shift. It's very pretty. Really beautiful. I love this palette. If you're looking for that heat, the warm tones in your life, and you're not into shimmers at all, would highly recommend the Makeup by Mario All Mattes palette. The first one, this is so beautiful. The quality is outstanding. Would highly recommend, not only for summers and fall, but for all year long. This is a great neutral palette to have in your collection. I can definitely recommend this in my neutral palettes too. But yeah, for summer, I feel like generally I go for like those brown tones, and this is a must have for me. Okay, last, certainly not the least, let me talk about a palette which is neutral, muted, but colorful, but it is so vibrant on the eyes. It's so dimensional. Would highly recommend it. If you are looking for a new palette to enter in your collection, which can give you all in one palette, I would highly recommend the Cosmic Dreamer palette from Ensley Rain Cosmetics. This palette is Summer in a palette. This is so pretty. It comes with a mirror too. And the shades that are inside this palette, outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. I have several looks on my channel using this palette, and I absolutely love everything about this palette. There's not one shade that I cannot wear in this palette, because they're all wearable but muted at the same time, but they give you that punch of color. If you want that color, there is a pink, there's a teal, there's a blue to give you that punch, but rest everything is like muted but colorful. It is so pretty, you guys. If you worry to put colors on your eyes, go for this palette and see how beautiful and wearable, and the shimmers out of this world. Would highly recommend it. Again, I do have a code with Ensley Rain Cosmetics, Smithy Sony, to save you 10% off. So those were my top palettes for summer season. I really hope that you guys are having a wonderful summer. I really wish the best for every one of you who's watching this video. And that's all for today, guys. If you did like this video, you know what to do. Give it a thumbs up, and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so that you're notified every time that I post next. I generally upload 3 videos every single week, every Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 9 AM Eastern Standard Time. Until next time, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.